Oh, I see it.
Hey, Leanne.
Hello. Good morning.
And we are live on the Jayhawk Book Club.
Excellent. Welcome, Jayhawk Book Club. And welcome, John Mars.
Oh, hold on. Let me unmute you, John.
Oh, 1 second.
There you go. Now you're unmuted.
Oh, poor you. That means you have to listen to me now.
We're all here. We're all here and ready.
How are you all? Are you well?
Yes, you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I've even got my glasses on, so I make me look more intelligent.
Yes, we are all doing well. So it's 9 o'clock in Kansas, where the origination of the Jayhawk Book Club is, but I'm sure our members are all over the place, and I know you are 3 o'clock. So you've had a whole day.
I've never been to Kansas. I went when I was 21. I went backpacking around America for a year, but I don't think I ever ended up in Kansas. It was all like Greyhound coaches and back in the day, like hitchhiking. Which would I do that now? Not hoping hell, but you're 21 and don't really give a stuff about anything. It seems quite a normal thing to do.
Yeah, it's an adventure.
Yeah, yes. And if you like American basketball, you should definitely.
Trying something a little different. This one's a little bit more cozier.
We got a rogue microphone.
Hold on. I'm muting all real quick.
Kind of see how this room works. Anyway, for today's part.
Okay, hold on. Now you can unmute yourselves. If you get talked to, you can unmute yourselves either with the microphone or you can press the space bar. So I will unmute John again real quick.
We need him.
Yep.
If I knew sign language, I would try that.
Well, we're all kind of trying something new today. So welcome to Zoom for those who are new.
I think like 3 weeks ago, or 3-4 weeks ago, nobody ever heard of Zoom.
Right.
And now it's like it's a must.
Yes. And if you guys are new to Zoom, if you want to see just the speaker, whoever is speaking, pop up on your screen, you can press up in the top left or top right anyway. For mine, there's a thing that says speaker view, and you can click that and it will bring in full screen the person talking instead of showing you the grid of everyone else. If you're on your phone or iPad, you probably have to swipe left or right to get to those different views. But if you're on a computer, you can select speaker view and that will show you the person talking only.
Wow, I've just gone to those arrows at the top. There's a lot of people here. Thank you for joining me.
We have 20 online so far.
Wow, this is going to be the most disappointing afternoon of your lives.
No, we are so thrilled. So typically we all get together at the end of a semester, at the end of our book. We gather in real life when we're allowed to do that and kind of have this discussion. But you are our very first author present. So thank you so much for joining us today.
When you asked me, I thought, I've not done one of these before. I've been to a couple of book clubs in the UK, just as like a surprise for a couple of organisers that I knew. I've never done this before. I thought, hey, why not? This should be fun. Because I've gone to like a few like book conferences and stuff like that, but I've never been on a panel. I've always shied away from doing anything like that or doing like a Q&A on stage, just because I think that I would just be dreadful. So I've always avoided them, and I'm kind of getting used to the idea of talking to people now and being less hermit-like.
Well, good.
Well, if this is your first one, I bet it's going to be your best one yet. So
okay. We'll see. I'm judging you all.
And we have 13 people right now live on Facebook watching us as well, FYI.
Hi guys, hi Facebook. I spend too much time on Facebook. You know what I've even done for preparation for this, because today it's exactly 3 years today that the one came out over in the UK. Yeah. I didn't realize until that showed up on my Facebook time hop. So you got to bear in mind, it's been a while since I've read this book. So how sad is this? Pinned to my computer are the names of the characters. So that was my third book. So I've written 4 more, including a couple that haven't come out yet. I've written 5 more since. And after a while, everything blurs into one, all the names. So I've had to write them out in case anyone says, oh, what do you think about so-and-so? Yeah, they're great. They're great.
Well, we're about to do that to you, so get ready.
Okay. I've even got a copy.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm sure people will kind of trickle in and trickle out. So do what you need to do this morning. We're flexible and adaptable, and we're at the will of technology. So be mindful of that as we navigate through this Zoom this morning. So thank you, of course, Sean, for coming. Thank you, everybody else, for if you are up at 9 a.m. and you are not typically up at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining us. So for some of you who have just kind of come in, Michelle talked a little bit about our Jayhawk Book Club. So John, we have about 1,000 members, maybe a little bit more, and this is the 5th book that we've all read together. So KU Library is where a couple of us work, and Michelle is with the KU Alumni Association. We partnered up to form this book club to build this community for Jayhawks across the globe and kind of their love for reading no matter where you are. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details, Michelle, do you have any tech-related updates for us?
Yep. So you guys will all notice that when you entered into this Zoom meeting, you were on mute as you entered. This is to keep down on background noise, because a lot of times you'll get reverberation sounds from people as they're talking, and it's hard to hear because it'll be just feedback. And so as we go through this, you'll stay muted unless you're talking. We will allow for questions as we move forward in this. If you have a question, there is a chat function in Zoom, either at the bottom of your screen. If you kind of go down to the bottom, it will say chat kind of right in the middle. If you're on a phone or iPad, it might be in a slightly different spot, but you can chat and you can type me a question privately. And then we will call on certain people to go ahead and ask questions. You can either unmute yourself at that point, or if you're having trouble unmuting yourself, I can unmute you as well from my admin screen. We also have now 15 people on Facebook. And if you're on Facebook watching us, you can also type a question into the comments on Facebook, and we will pull some questions from there if we need to. And sorry, I just pulled up the video because I was trying to look at the comments, so you were hearing myself talking again. Anyway, so we can look at the comments on there and ask them on your behalf on here. So really that's it. Just try to keep yourself on mute unless you've been called upon. That way we reduce all of the extra noise. So I will turn it back over to Leah for now, and I'll be monitoring for questions.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Michelle. So, okay, we've got a lot of good questions for you, John. Okay. But I kind of wanted to start by sharing a couple of the feedback pieces that we got after we announced that it was going to be your book. So people can chime in on our Jayhawk Book Club Facebook page or respond to emails, and then the group can respond to each other, and it's just very organic. Everybody can kind of come and do what they like. So after we announced about a week into reading your book, David Burns said, I liken this book to a Grand Prix race. It's fast moving with lots of twists and turns. Abby said, I just finished it, and all I can say is, wow, what a selection, and something I might not have found or read without this club. So there was a lot of different feedback, and it was really exciting to see. This was our first kind of well, it's classified as science fiction, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah. First kind of read like that. So would you kind of kick things off and share with us a little bit about what inspired the premise and the characters in the one?
I kind of came up with the idea. My partner and I were getting married. We were planning our wedding over in New York. And I think I was working down in London at the time. I live in a place called Northamptonshire. It's about an hour and a half away from London by train. And on the way home one evening down the escalator to get my train home, I was just kind of looking around and feeling a little bit smug that I found my person that I want to be with for the rest of my life, and just how much it would be easier it would be if we could all find someone you just knew when you saw them automatically, you just knew there was something there. And it just became this silly one little idea became the one. And I started thinking about my characters on the journey home. And I think it was within the week that I just started having a go at writing this. It was my 3rd book. It was self-published back then. I thought, yeah, let's just have a go at writing this and see where it goes. And I think it's probably the quickest book that I've written. It took me about 3-4 months to do the first draft, and then a few versions after that, before I self-published it under its original title, was called 1,000 Small Explosions, which is kind of what you're supposed to feel when you meet this person. But just kind of going off tangent for a minute. the book was self-published on Amazon for about a week, and then somebody got in touch from the publishing company Penguin and said, hey, we've read your book, we really liked it, would you think about going the traditional publishing route? And heck yeah, why wouldn't I? And in that same week, it was a really weird week, I won't bore you with all the details, but in that same week, a production company got in touch and said to me, would you be interested, we would be interested in optioning this to try and turn it into a television series, are you interested in that? And like, you know, when you think it might be one of these practical joke shows and you're kind of looking around for a camera somewhere in the office. So I was like, oh, well, go on then if you're interested. So that's how that came about. And the characters, I don't know. I had tried to come up with some interesting ideas for characters and awkward situations you could put them in. And just see where it went, really. And I always wanted to write some kind of like little serial killer story, but not just an entire book based on a serial killer. So I thought I'd throw that into the mix. And I think the hardest part of this whole book was trying to work out, so obviously none of their stories overlap, but they're all under that overarching umbrella of the natural DNA. And I wanted to, just write just something that was going to be quick and fast and short, snappy chapters, and not waffle on too much, and then go from one to the next, so that you just want to keep reading, basically. And I hope that's what happened. Can I ask you a question? How did you come about the one? How did you come to choose that?
Oh, that's a tough one. After our last book, which now, of course, I'm going to blank on what it was. Oh, When All Is Said by Anne Griffin. We all met up and I kind of threw it to the group, like, what do people want to see? And we had done, some kind of similar fiction. And so a couple of people said, it would be interesting to do something that's not so predictable or not so everyday. So I kind of started going on to Goodreads and all of these listicles, and I was like going from here to here to here. And then I just kept seeing the one on all of these different kinds of lists, like science fiction lists, and just interesting, unique reads. And then here we are.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. Thank you, though.
Of course, yeah. Thank you. We all had a blast. So Leanne, who is, I know everybody has different squares, but
hey, Leanne.
Hello.
You look very much like a friend of mine, and it weirded me out at first.
Oh, very familiar face.
Yes.
Well, Leanne is one of our co-leads on Jayhawk Book Club too, and she had a kind of question about the inspiration related to DNA kits. Leanne?
Yeah, I was just curious, given the timing of when you published the book and when you were writing, how much the popularity of DNA tests really inspired the storyline. I just know, considering like how quickly I had friends that started getting on the 23andMe kind of bandwagon, and then I know I participated, I did it with my brother, I'm adopted, and like just thinking about like what that meant to us and what it can mean when it comes to a love story. And I'm just curious how the popularity of that might have influenced your writing or interest in writing with it, or maybe not at all.
Back when I wrote it, so thinking about it when I wrote it, so if it came out 3 years ago today, there was a period of about 7 or 8 months when it was being kind of rejigged around with a new editor. Then there was a period when I'd self-published it for a week. So you're probably looking at about 4 years ago when it came out. And there was basically very, very little on DNA and matching and whether you can ever match someone through DNA on the internet. I can't remember the name of the company, but I wanted to use something else, but that company it existed. So I ended up having to call it Natural DNA instead. But yeah, there was very, very little. And then over the last few years, people every now and again, they'll tweet me or email me and say, hey, have you seen this? And they'll send me a link to a newspaper or a magazine article in which there's some new company reckons that, yeah, hey, your DNA, you can find the person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with just based on your DNA. I'm thinking, yeah, okay. It's just so either I'm psychic or I mean, I think we all know it's not possible, is it? It's all, it's all quite ridiculous, but it's fun. But I think the things like the ancestry and then trying to find out your origins and your actual DNA is amazing and absolutely fantastic. But again, I don't think there was much of that when I started writing the book. I think it's the last couple of years specifically, ancestry has become so huge and so popular. I think some of these other things that claim they can help you find true love are just jumping on a bandwagon.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's interesting. I know the first page of the book, that's kind of the false ad for Match Your DNA. I know that I'm probably going to butcher this story, and if someone in this group is the one who told the story, but they posted to the Facebook page saying that they were listening to the audiobook or with their partner, and that was being read, and their partner was like, "What is this sponsor? Who is this? What is this talking about?" And they didn't know it was an audiobook. So I thought that was funny. So were there characters that came more easily for you, or in any of your books really? Do you find yourself looking forward to writing about certain storylines and then kind of avoiding others that you're not connecting with so much, or does it all just come so easily to you?
To be honest, I think because I worked as a journalist and I had deadlines and I knew what I had to do when I had to do it, my mind is quite focused once I put my mind to something. Originally, I wrote 6 characters and only 5 made the cut because one of them was just even too dark, even for my standards. I think I found Christopher the serial killer the easiest, probably took the most research because I wanted to do a bit of research on psychopaths and sociopaths and whether they could fall in love. And yeah, they can. They have their own version of love. So that probably took the most research. But there is one character in here that, even though I haven't read this for a while, I'm still just not keen on. And you want to know who it is now, don't you? It's the one who goes to Australia, Jade. No, is that Jade? No, because basically I changed a lot of the names around at the end. It is Mandy. Yes, the one who goes to Australia and meets her match, Mark, who's the brother of. And that's the only one it really doesn't work for me, and I struggled with writing that one. And I did think my editor wanted to keep it in there because it's not as dark as some of the other storylines in there. You need a little bit of light. So that's kind of one of the only reasons, but I'm still not completely on board on whether that works or not. I shouldn't admit that, should I?
No, we appreciate your candor.
Just fast forward that bit.
No, I think it really is fascinating. And yeah, I read that you were freelance journalisting and had interviewed celebrities and of all realms. So
yeah, that was my job for about 25 years doing that. Just you kind of go from some of your A-listers who came over to promote their movies and then right down to the kind of Z-list reality stars.
Yeah,
now anyone's a star. Now you have to have an Instagram page and you're a star. You're an influencer.
Yes. All right. Let's see. So a lot of us have heard, and we kind of talked through our ideas, but that the one will be debuting soon on Netflix. So we were wondering what your level of involvement was in the production and kind of what you're most excited about seeing come to life there.
My involvement is zero. Nothing, nothing whatsoever. I did get to go along to the filming of it a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, it's January now, because Netflix has put a hold on the filming of all their programs until the coronavirus is more under control. But the one had finished filming just before that. So it's in the editing suite at the moment. So it gets delivered by the production company to Netflix in July. Then Netflix, I think, dub it into something like 150 different languages. And then it debuts worldwide in the autumn. So they won't tell me when exactly in the autumn. But to be honest, I don't really know that much about it. Now, everyone's suddenly kind of stopped moving. Oh, well, you're all moving again. Sorry. I was wondering whether I'd lost my connection for a minute. I think the storyline, from what I know, I'm not allowed to say much about it, but it's going to be very different to the book. It's going to be. I think it's going to be quite kind of different characters, but the basic storyline of the Match Your DNA is going to be there. But I think from my perspective, it doesn't bother me at all because I think I took it as far as I could take it with my book. I think it's somebody else's vision and it's up to them to turn it into what they want to turn it into. So I'm going to be really excited to watch it.
Great. That's fascinating. Okay. All right. So someone in the group posed a question to the rest of us, kind of asking what we all thought was the moral of this story. And someone else responded by saying that maybe it was an allegory for money can't buy love. So what would you say to that? Did you have something that you wanted people to take away from this, that science can't be trusted, science should be trusted?
I think for me, it's more that the grass isn't necessarily greener on the other side. I think I mentioned that somewhere in the book. I think so many people these days, particularly with dating, is so easy, so easy these days. It can just be done with a swipe of a finger. You're just judged on appearances. It's quite exciting in one way, but it's quite sad in another. And I think people don't necessarily stick things out. I think when it comes to relationships, it's too easy to just give up. Okay, there's no point in flogging a dead horse if you know in your heart it's not going to work. But I think sometimes, I can't explain myself properly. I think people perhaps need to go to more effort in the relationships that they have and realize that this could be amazing if you only put time and give that other person a bit of respect.
Yeah.
I'm waffling on a bit there. I don't know. I don't try and put like messages in my books. I think it's up to the readers to take what they want, or just, you know, not ever think about it again once the final page is closed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So we have a question in the chat that says, I think about Netflix, was it hard to let go of your story and to turn it over to the TV writers?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I think, again, it comes from a journalist side, a journalist perspective. You get so used to, when you finish writing your story, of it gets sent to your sub-editor and your editor and blah, blah, blah. And then they rewrite things and they put things in their own spin and whatever they want to do with it. And so I've kind of been used to that. And this is exactly the same, that it's up to them what they want to do with it. They paid to do it. Go for it, see what happens. Fingers crossed it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I've signed a non-disclosure, so if I hate it, I can't say a word.
Well, I'm sure we'll all be tuning in. All right. So again, and a question for you, and if anyone else kind of wants to chime in on this one too, if this test really existed, would you take it, and why or why not?
No, I wouldn't. I got married to my partner, who's also called John. 3 years ago now, 3.5 years ago. And no, I'm perfectly happy with my lot. We had a baby 7.5 months ago. So we are sleepless nights. We are tired all the time. We are tetchy, but we don't care because he's amazing, little boy. So no, I'm perfectly happy that I've found my match.
Oh,
what about you? Would you take the test?
Ooh. No, I don't think so. I'm a friend to just being ignorant. I prefer to just assume that I've made all the right decisions at the right moment in my life, and I can live with that. So what about anyone else? Does anyone feel strongly? Don't forget to unmute. But I see a head shake from Nancy.
I think, so I recently started dating someone new, but I went through a period where I wasn't dating anyone. And considering how much of a mess other dating options can be in this digital realm, I don't know that I would say no to it. I would consider it in that point. I'm happy now where I'm at right now. I'm happy how it all shook out. But in that period, I probably would have considered it.
I think if I was single, I might. Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. I might. Yeah. If I was single, then I would have. Yeah. But even that, but there is that risk though in the book, isn't there, that you could end up with somebody that you're not expecting. You could end up with a 90-year-old man living in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. It would be a risk for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of related to that. So I'm going to toss it out. I know Rebecca. Hi.
Hi, Rebecca.
I had a question about kind of what types of relationships you chose to examine. So if you want to kick off your question, Rebecca, that would be awesome.
Hi, Rebecca. Mute. Unmute.
Unmute. Well, it looks like you. You don't have a little mute sign next to you, but I can't hear you.
Should be unmuted.
I wish I could lip read.
Nope. Oh. Typing. Technology.
It's basically saying your book is god awful.
While we're waiting on her to type out her question, I do have one on Facebook that came through from a gentleman who translated your book actually into Hungarian.
Oh, wow.
He said that the character of Christopher was very frightening and very realistic, and he's afraid. So he was wondering why the character of Christopher, why the serial killer in the book?
I think, yeah, as I said earlier, I'd always wanted to kind of write a serial killer story. I just thought it'd be really interesting, but I don't think I've really seen any stories about serial killers who fall in love, and then to have that person matched with someone who is a force of good in her career. I thought just it'd be kind of quite interesting doing that. I can't believe they translated it. I've probably got it. I've got like I don't know whether you can see it on my little bookshelf up here somewhere. It's kind of keep the I keep my foreign versions right at the top there, so it's probably up there somewhere.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I would butcher his name, trying to say his name, but it looks like it would be pronounced Tibor, maybe Tibor, and his last name is Ipacs.
Yes, I know it is. I'm friends with him on Facebook. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
world.
Yes.
So Sandy here in the comments wants to know, did you know how the story would end, or did it just come to you? And do you use a whiteboard to work out your story plot?
No, I don't use a whiteboard. I should do. I just keep it all in my head. I've got so I'm working on another book at the moment, just plotting that out, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 post-it notes on my computer, and that's about it. The rest of it, Sandy, I just try and keep in my head. Yeah, I kind of had an idea of the overall ending. I'm actually quite curious because I can't remember whether it's in the American book or not, and I've got one on my shelf up here somewhere, whether your ending is slightly different to mine, and whether can you bear with me while I go and grab the copy of it?
We can.
So I think this is the American version of it, of the hardback, and whether you have it or not. I'm going to show you if you don't. So yeah, I think the end of your book is just basically comes to an end. Just basically that's it, like the end. I think Ellie is the last story, and that's it. But in the British version and other versions of it, you get something else. You get this page, which matches the one at the front. So it indicates that Ellie, that she ended up going to prison, because I think she suggests that if you don't, if all goes to hell and high water, you know what to do. I think she says that to her secretary. And so afterwards, that's the very last page, and you've got this sorry, and so it basically suggests that she did go to prison. But for some reason, it's not in the American version. I don't know why. Or some other countries don't have it either as well. Ah, you've got one. Oh, maybe it's just the hardback that it wasn't in there. How weird.
I actually didn't. This is the first time I'm seeing it. I really didn't turn to that page.
No, I've not got it in my in the hardback. So for some reason they didn't put it in the hardback, but they must put it in the paperback. Oh, that's cool. So I'm just walking on for 5 minutes for no reason whatsoever. But we all
knew it was there either. So
yeah, I kind of knew how everything was going to end. And sometimes when you just write, though, you just see what happens and where things go. Like the story about what's her name? Jade and Richard. Richard was originally going to be dead. For a lot of the book, he was going to be dead. That was their storyline. But I just suddenly, when I came to start writing, I was like, okay, maybe more interesting if he was actually still alive, but in a coma. So yeah, got to save him, but that's about it.
Perfect. Let's see.
I actually have the question that Rebecca was going to share. So her question was, she noted that she loved the inclusion of a queer storyline, but at first it caught her breath a bit, hoping that as it involved 2 characters who had been straight before their match, she wasn't sure how it would play out, and into latent hostility towards LGBTQ plus community. So she's curious why you chose to decide to pursue the storyline in the way that you did.
Really good question, by the way, Rebecca. Thank you. As a member of that community, I thought it'd be interesting, rather than have a gay character and a straight character, which I think has kind of been done quite a bit in various books and novels over the years. I wanted to do 2 straight characters, and the whole match your DNA thing, just kind of force them together and see what happens if you just kind of judge a person by really hard to explain today. Just strip it kind of back to basics and forget about the gender and forget about the sexuality. Just have 2 people just fall in love because genetically they were made for each other. I don't think that's really explaining it very well, Rebecca. I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to have like a gay character in it, but rather than just try and write the same thing that other people have done, I just wanted to put my own kind of twist on it. Hence, to straight guys, but who fell in love, regardless of the gender they thought, or the gender they've lived. I don't know whether that makes a word of sense.
That's great. All right, I had a question from Michelle McComb. Is that you, Michelle's iPad? Okay, I see you nodding, so I'll wait for you to unmute.
Hi, Michelle's iPad. That's a big staircase.
It is.
I don't think she can unmute.
Oh, we unmute her, Michelle?
I don't see Michelle. Michelle looks like she fell off.
Oh no.
Oh, she.
Oh, Michelle, hi.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Hello.
I was going to show you this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a friend that made that for me.
Oh, what a creative friend.
I have a gay son, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you're an awesome.
So I was really glad to see that storyline, and now I forgot my question. What was my what was my question?
I actually do have it. I'll tell you and then you can say it. But if the author had a favorite match.
Oh, that's right. Which was your favorite couple to write about? And then which one was the most difficult?
So yeah, this is where I'm going to refer to my rather pathetic little post-it notes here. So Christopher and Amy, the serial killer and his policeman girlfriend. I enjoyed writing their story. Nick and Alex, Mandy and Mark, I think that's the one I said before that I wasn't massively keen on. I think Ellie and Tim, trying to get that right. That I didn't so much struggle with it, but I think I probably spent more time on that one than I did over the others. And Jade and Richard, those are the ones that just didn't quite gel with me. So it took quite a bit of editing to get that right with my editor. Yeah, but I think I'd go for Christopher and Amy. They were probably my favorites.
They were my favorite to read about, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
but I did like writing. I did like writing the Nick and Alex story just because I liked just seeing how twisty and turny and how more and more awkward I could make this.
Oh my gosh, yes, twisty and turny. I'm the one that started reading this Friday night. I was just gonna, because I was late getting involved in this, and so I was just gonna start reading Friday night. I put the book down at 4 a.m. Saturday morning. So
I'm sorry that
I read it in one go. I loved it so much.
Oh, thank you very much. That's really kind of you.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I had one from Marty Milburn. Are you out there, Marty? I don't see you, Marty.
Maybe on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, Marty's question was that Ellie was one of his favorite characters, and he wanted to know the results of the trial in your mind. And is there room here for a sequel?
Yeah, in my mind, she was found guilty and she did go to prison for a set period of time. Is there room for a sequel? I've thought about it, but I don't think I could do a sequel with all these characters. I think their stories are all wrapped up, and I think that anything that if I brought them back into another book, they'd just be convoluted. So it would be basically potentially another 4 separate stories of new characters, and then potentially bringing Ellie back. But I don't know. I've not written a sequel yet. It'd have to be good enough. It'd have to be a good enough story for me to want to do it. I think I get too bored too quickly, and I think the thought of spending another year working on a similar kind of book, I'd struggle with it.
Cool. All right, we've got one in the chat here from Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Oh,
Jeffrey,
you
look really scary, Jeffrey. I can just see the light shining on your eyes there, on your glasses.
Oh, muted.
I'm working on it.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, it was supposed to storm here at 10, and it is starting now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's getting darker by the minute.
Right, okay.
So Jeffrey's question was, do you see the possibility of taking the test again if your match were to die?
Oh, there's a plot hole I hadn't thought of.
There you go, sequel.
Uh-huh. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't see how you could. I think there's supposed to be just one person there out for you, and if that person's dead, then it's like, oops. Yeah. So there's in my next book, so my next book that came out in the States, The Passengers, there's a nod to the one. And then in the one I'm working on at the moment called The Minders, that doesn't come out over in the US until next year. There's more kind of about the one in there. There's more kind of a message, there's more kind of little nods to the one story. And I don't think I've actually mentioned about death and what could happen there. Yeah, no, in my mind, I don't think so. I think if they're dead, then that's a bit unfortunate, and you're gonna have to settle for somebody else who's maybe not made for you. But you never know, can make it work.
Yeah. All right, we've got one from Vernell, who I see you, but she has typed into Facebook, why did you choose Chris's bizarre death rather than him going to prison?
Because I have a very sick mind. I think he needed to get his comeuppance. I think if Ellie was going to go to prison, I couldn't have Christopher going to prison as well. So I think Christopher had to die in a very similar way to the way that he killed. You know, that's one of my, I'll let you into the secret. That's one of my regrets about this book, that when I wrote it, I had Christopher, he was just, my thought process was that he was a bully, basically, and he wanted to kill people more vulnerable that he could overpower, and that happened to be kind of quite youngish women. And I kind of wish that I hadn't just made it women now, because I think that's been kind of done to death. And if I was to rewrite that book, it would be men and women. He'd be an equal opportunity killer rather than picking on women, because I think that's done so much in books. And I kind of regret that.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Heather wants to know, how long did it take you to write this, and do you have anything new coming out?
Yeah, so Heather, it took me, I'd say probably the first draft about 4 months, and then after that it was a few months of rewrites, and then I self-published it. Actually, I'll see if I can, I've still got it. Here was the original cover. So that was the original cover and how the book looked back then. Oh, there we go, 1,000 Small Explosions. Which weirdly, a few countries have ended up using variations of that cover for it. Yeah, so then it came out. So it probably took from start to the actual published version about a year and a half altogether. And then it took longer for it to come out in the States. And yeah, what I'm working on, I've got 2 books out. I've got 1 book out in 2 weeks' time, which is about 2 women who share a house. One lives on the ground floor, one lives on the second floor, and every second night they meet for dinner on the middle floor, but they absolutely hate each other. And it follows them over 25 years as to how they got to that stage of hating each other. And then this other one I've got called The Minders, which comes out over here in July, and then over there, I think next year. That's more kind of like The Passengers and more like The One. So it's got this like kind of, they call it 5 minutes in the future style. So kind of present day, but with a bit of a futuristic twist to it.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. So speaking of futuristic twist, so one of our members, Mary, she said she was fascinated by the genre. So one site lists it as science fiction,
yeah.
But it's interesting to me that there's so many current references and kind of the technology too. So how would you categorize this book?
Yeah, it's for me a lot. It is categorized in a lot of places as sci-fi, and I don't really necessarily think of it as sci-fi, and I don't really read sci-fi. But I guess sci-fi is such a broad spectrum. For me, you say the word sci-fi, and I think alien planets and aliens and things at war in faraway galaxies. But I guess a lot of people kind of have described it as like a bit like Black Mirror. So that kind of dark, kind of twisty 5 minutes in the future thing. So I think if I had to just put it in one category, I'd probably put it in thriller. If I'm allowed 2, I'd say thriller with maybe like a little futuristic twist to it. But yeah, not necessarily, maybe just my age. I'm not really keen on the sci-fi description. Perfect, thank you. Can I just show, by the way, because like as I mentioned, like you get all these different book covers from around the world.
Oh yeah.
I got one the other day from Bulgaria, and I don't think I've ever seen a book cover as bad as this one. I'll show you one that I liked and one that I really disliked. So let me get this one.
That would be great.
Where is it? Sorry, just talk amongst yourselves. Pretend I'm not here. I really quite like this one. I thought this was quite curious. I think this is the Polish version of it. I really like that. I don't know why. I just found it quite interesting. Just
An
this like
apple?
apple sewn up with blood on it. That was quite unique. And this is the Bulgarian version. And oh my lord.
Oh.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a hairspray advert from the 1980s. You kind of seem like a real discount store. So I apologize to the Bulgarian designer, but it doesn't quite work for me, this one. But I don't really get much of a say in what happens around the world with them. I just thought I'd share this.
Just one of the
I opened the packet and I was like, oh, okay. Interesting.
Our graphic designer from the library says this hurts my eyes. So she agrees.
It's just so amazing in so many bad ways. Ooh, I don't know. Really shouldn't admit that, should I? This
is a safe space. We're good. Leanne.
Yeah, so I just had a quick question in regards to like book sales, if you will. Would there have been a way, obviously, if we hadn't reached out or connected on social, would you have seen the uptick in book sales in this little hotspot of, well, mostly Kansas, but also all over the United States? Or is that not something that like you really see?
I'm really lucky. I get to write for 2 different labels. So I get to write for just purely psychological thrillers for Thomas and Mercer, which is owned by Amazon, and I get to write speculative like this sci-fi kind of thing for over here Penguin, and then for over there a couple of different labels. God, what was the question again? I've gone off my own track.
If you would notice all the increased sales here in the US.
Yeah, so I get to see my sales figures for the Penguin stuff every 4 to 6 months, and for the Thomas and Mercer stuff, I get to see them basically every day. You get to see them; they're updated hourly, but it doesn't tell you in which regions. It only tells you how it's selling in the country as a whole.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I don't know.
That's all right. Leah, it looks like we have a couple more in the chat.
We do.
All right.
Chris. Hi, Chris. Chris wants to know, is the Netflix show taking it more science fiction-y or more thriller, if you can say?
Don't know the answer to that, Chris. No, they Netflix are very, very secretive, even though it's a production company making it, but Netflix is very, very secretive about what they do, because they don't even like release viewing figures very often. I know that Tiger King, I think they announced it because it got 64 million viewers in the first 3 weeks because of lockdown. I think helped everywhere. But yeah, I don't really know whether it's going to be kind of more thriller or more, I'm thinking it's going to be more thrillery than kind of sciencey, which is good, because I think that would probably be more of an interesting market for viewers.
Yeah. And Jeffrey's here in the chat pointing out, which I think is a good point, because sci-fi does kind of get a weird rep, but sci-fi used to be unbelievable, but with advances of science, now sci-fi is more possible.
Yeah, good point, Jeffrey, actually. Yeah. I mean, I suppose when I say I don't really read sci-fi, I suppose what have I got on my bookshelf over there? So I guess the Dark Matter, The Circle, they're both kind of classified as thrillers, but with a kind of a sci-fi twist to them, I guess. But yeah, I mean, for the one I've been working on, the Minders, I've been going through a lot of magazines and newspaper articles and stuff like that about future tech and what we'll be using in the next 10 to 15 years. So yeah, I guess that's known as sci-fi. We need a new word, Jeffrey. We need you to come out with a new word that sums up this kind of book. This is your challenge, my friend.
You have until the end of the meeting. Put something in the chat for us.
Yes. No pressure.
Heather wants to know, has the pandemic inspired any ideas for new sci-fi or otherwise books for you to write?
Well, there's an idea that I'm working on for a book that won't be out for about another 2 or 3 years, just because I haven't got time to write the damn thing. But and there is a reaction to the way economies are at the moment, how everything is on hold, and how it's going to take quite a long time for them to start building up again. So whereas it's not the basis of the whole story by any means, it is. I have been like researching a little bit of what experts predict things are going to happen over the next few years after this pandemic kind of hopefully soon comes to an ending. So, but not actually based on it, no.
Great. All right. Well, does anyone have questions? They want to come online and talk to John, or type in the chat?
They're probably sick of hearing
anyone
me.
out there on Facebook. Hello.
I just realised just how much I do ramble on with my answers, don't I?
We need that. You are the leader of this discussion. We couldn't do it without you.
I'm amazed. I keep scrolling through the photographs just to see who's fallen asleep at their laptop or iPad.
John, I wanted to let you know that, is my mic working?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, it wasn't showing me up like I'm speaking. So I just want to let you know we had like 25 people, I think, peek on Facebook so far. So people have kind of gone on and off. But I do have a question for you. Has your newfound fatherhood inspired you to write any books? Because as a parent to two fairly young children myself, I know that there's all kinds of stories you can write. Some would probably not be so nice, but just curious if that has inspired any kind of books for you.
Hasn't inspired any books. There's an idea that came to me for a book that I've just finished plotting that I'm going to start writing either much later this year or early next year. And I can't obviously give it away yet what I'm going to write about, but there's something in it that involves kids and that I'm struggling to get my head around writing it now that I have a child. So it's not abuse, but I'm not sure whether I feel entirely comfortable with it now. It has kind of changed my thinking a little bit. I mean, I'm only like a new parent who's only been around in our lives for like the last 8 months, but it's just like, it does change everything, doesn't it? Just absolutely everything.
Changes everything.
I permanently got a bit of dribble on a shoulder, a little stain here. I'm constantly wiping away a bogey or something in an eye. So yeah, everything does change. But people do ask me a lot whether I've got any plans to write any children's books, and like, no plans to start doing that. I think there are a lot of good children's authors out there that don't need me poking into their business and trying to nick some sales.
All right. Anyone else out there in the world?
We had a question on Facebook asking how you're coping with the pandemic.
Yeah, okay. When our little boy was born, so he was 2 months premature. So he was supposed to be born in November, but he was born at the beginning of September. So we spent a month with him in hospital, and we were kind of on our own self-imposed lockdown because we spent all our days there. We moved nearer to where he was born, and then we got him home. And it was probably about a month again, almost in a lockdown, because he was still seen as vulnerable because he was like so little. He was only like 2 pounds 7 ounces at one point. And yeah, we were on this self-imposed lockdown for a while, and gradually we kind of like started getting a bit of a life back together and going out to various baby clubs and things and seeing a lot of friends and stuff. So it feels like we've kind of gone back to the way things were back in September, October. So we're kind of used to it. It's like a dry run, a bit of a rehearsal for it. So it hasn't affected us like it has a lot of people. We live in a village right in the middle of the countryside, so we do long walks. Like we did a big long walk before I came back for this. It's all right. It's just like we're both very fortunate. The other John, he's off work as well, on paternity leave, so we both just got to spend this consolidated time period with our little boy and really getting to know him.
That's great.
There's a question in the chat similar on the pandemic to say, has the pandemic inspired any ideas for new sci-fi books or other books for you to write?
We did that one.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
I missed that. Sorry.
Where were you, Leanne? Where were you?
You must have
I hope
frozen.
that you're in a library and that this is not your house and that you have all these shelves of books in your house, because you really put me to shame.
This is actually our one of our biggest libraries on campus's stacks. So it's a book I had taken, and it's just my background. So
she just misses being at work so much.
Yeah.
No, you're not telling me that's a green screen behind you, are you? Are you superimposed?
This is like a photo.
Whoa!
Just the space. Yeah.
You've ruined this for me. I should have asked you to grab a book.
Yeah, I can show you. Hold on.
You can do virtual backgrounds on Zoom.
Let's see here.
Are we about to be in your kitchen?
Yeah, you're about to be. Oh, did I do it? Oh, you're about to be in my living room kitchen. I live in a little studio. Let's see here. None. Oh yeah, there we go.
This is amazing.
My kitchen.
Oh look! And now Teresa's at the baseball game, and Leanne's in her kitchen and her living room.
This
all at the same time.
Fantastic, Teresa. I love it.
That's
amazing.
We'll throw on a baby Yoda since it's May the 4th be with you.
Oh, perfect.
Oh my God, this has suddenly got really surreal. Oh, I just spent like the last 45 minutes believing that you're in this library, and now you've got a baby Yoda behind you.
I know. This is our stacks. Here's our, well, this is
There
where
we go.
This is where we keep 2 million volumes.
Right.
And there she is.
Wow. I need to be more imaginative. I'm just in my office at home. I need to be more imaginative in future now that I know that we can do this. I have a field of unicorns running around me or something.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, is there anything, John, that you want to share with us? Anything that we didn't touch on? Do you get all prepared to come out and speak to us and you really wanted to share some point that I didn't hit on for you today?
No, I was just going to wing it and see what happened. And every time I look at myself on this little camera, I see how shiny my forehead is there, and I just want to put my hand over it. No, I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good fun. It's great to get feedback. Reviews are a funny thing because you don't. I kind of used to read them religiously, and then I stopped reading them, and then I kind of read some of them. But if I read the good ones, then I'll have to try and read a few bad ones as well, just to balance everything out. There's nothing like getting a bit of feedback and talking to people who read a book, and even whether they liked it or didn't like it, and doing it kind of in person, or as much as in person this can be. So I've really enjoyed this, and I'm so grateful to everybody who's bothered to come out and or stay at home and log on for this. It's fantastic. Thank you, and thank you for reading the book as well. It's like this mad little book that I just had this mad idea for, and now I'm sitting here talking to you guys about it 3 years later.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We were so thrilled that you agreed to do this. So thank you so much for taking time to sit down with us from across the world and everyone else from wherever you are at the library, in your kitchen, in England, everywhere. So we're very grateful to everyone who came this morning, and thank you, John.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you, guys. Apart from Leanne, who's just, I feel, has lied to me now.
I put in the chat, I put a link to the background. You can join us in the library anytime.
Oh,
okay.
Perfect. Everyone can download a picture.
All right.
Well, thank you all. We'll link to the recording. John, I can send you the recording too if you want to relive your glory moments today. So we will all get a copy, and thank you again, everybody.
I need to take a quick picture to put on my Instagram. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so everybody at the moment, can you all wave? There we go. Thank you, guys.
I love it. Thank you, John.
Yes, have a good day, and then stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
If I press leave now, that means you can all start criticizing me behind my back and saying what a waste
Now
of
we can really start.
was of your lives. Take care.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.